Figure it out.
Hello, this is Adam Koralik with Figure It Out Productions. The following video is part of our Quick Shoot series.
Hey guys, it's Adam here, and as I'm sure you guys are completely and totally and utterly sick of at this point about hearing about, I went to the UK. Yes, Adam, no, we went to the UK, fucking we get it. Yes, sorry. Pretty much done here. This is the final, I believe, pickups video regarding the UK. I went to a lot of stores and I shot a lot of videos in those places, but there were some places where I was unable to shoot a video for one reason or another, or it wasn't quite worth making a video all by itself, etc. Or in some cases, I just screwed up and didn't get footage. I'll explain as I go. So these are just random pickups I got at various places and from various people, and I just decided to lump them all together, kind of like an episode of Playload, but completely different because we're shooting it this way. So I recommend you grab a drink or something and just relax, and we'll talk about all this cool stuff. Now, first up, when I got to the UK, the first place I went to was Cardiff, and I met up with a buddy of mine named Raymond. Now, upon first meeting him, the first thing that happens is he stands up, he waves, and then he takes this thing out of his backpack and he hands me this. This is a long box version of Sewer Shark for the Mega CD, aka the Sega CD. Now, I think he just gave this to me because he had like extra copies of it, and it was just kind of a here you go type of thing. But the other thing that, and I want someone to clarify this because I don't actually know, I mean specifically Vampire Mike, Sega CD Universe, you'd be the guy qualified for this. I know that the Mega CD in Europe really didn't use the long box. They primarily used the jewel case design. In North America, we use the long boxes. Sewer Shark, though, I believe was a pack-in, and as a result, I don't think it ever got a long box release. It might have. That's where I'm wondering. So if it didn't, then this is interesting because they got a long box release of this for some reason and we did not. So it's a very good way to have it fit in with your Sega CD collection, even though technically it's Mega CD. I don't know. I'm wondering about that. But either way, thank you to Raymond for that. That was really cool. Now, continuing on, as I was hanging out with Raymond, one of the things I had asked him about while I was there was something that I could do an entire video on, but I'll compress it a lot for the purposes of this video, which is, I don't know if anybody else does this, but when I get a used game, if possible, like for example this one, if I were to have bought this, I would want to know that it actually works, because I'm not always going to have the time to sit down and beat the thing from beginning to end, so you want to make sure that the thing you just bought is totally functional. Going beyond just popping it in the console and seeing if it works, you also want to, in my case, I feel like it's good to rip it digitally, rip it as a backup. And I don't mean pirate it, because I'm not saying burn it and play it illegally. I'm just saying rip it so that if the computer can rip it successfully, then you know there's nothing wrong with the disc. So there's some consoles you can do that very easily, some are more complicated, etc. One of them that I want to back up is my Xbox 360 collection, or at least just rip to see if they work. You know what I'm saying? I guess I could do that internally on the console now that I think about it, but ripping it through a PC would just be much more efficient. So with that in mind, I asked Raymond if he had any spare Xbox 360 drives that I could use on a PC, and he was like, yeah. And so here it is. I just dropped something else, but that's okay. Yeah, here it is, just an Xbox 360 drive. Now, of course, Raymond does a lot of video game repairs and modifications to consoles, and of course with the infamous Red Rings of Death that cursed the Xbox 360, he was sitting on stacks of these, so he was more than happy to give me one, and he flashed it and everything so I can use it on a PC, so that's great, and thank you to Raymond for that. While I was with him, one day we were riding the bus from Cardiff to Pontypridd, which is where Next Level Games is. Awesome store that I did a couple of videos on. You should check those out. During that bus ride, we're just sitting down, shooting the shit, talking about stuff. And one thing that came up was the original Mega Drive, Model 1 Mega Drive, aka Sega Genesis. And I was like, you know what? While I'm over here, dude, I should try and track one of those down. I have a Model 2, and I'm obviously a big fan of the Genesis. It'd be kind of cool to actually have a Model 1 Mega Drive. And he was like, well, do you want it with, like, cables or controllers or anything? I was like, nah, just the console would be fine. And he was like, oh, well, I'll just give you one. And I was like, well, you don't have to give me one, dude. He's like, no, I got a shed, and it's true, by the way. He's got a shed in the back of his house. It's just full of Mega Drives and, parts and all sorts of great stuff. And he was like, what version you want? The regular one? You want the high-definition graphics? What do you want? I was like, I'll take a high-definition graphics. And sure enough, next day he shows up and he's like, yeah, all right, here you go. Here's a Model 1 Mega Drive. He told me that the side plate actually wasn't there, but that was okay because I had extras. So a full, complete Model 1 Mega Drive. And what I'll probably do, actually, because a lot of people have been asking for a while if I could do a cleaning video about the Model 1 Genesis. Haven't had one to clean. Might have been clean already, so this will be a good excuse to do that. So look forward to that happening at some point when I find the time. But there you go. Very cool of Raymond to hook me up with that. Now moving on. When I was going over there, as you guys have heard, you guys have got to be really sick of it at this point, but I made this list of games I was looking for. The first place that Raymond took me to, after I met up with him, we got on a bus and we went to this one first place. It was a car boot sale, which we would think of as like a flea market. Now, unfortunately, maybe it was just because I don't know if I was tired or if I'm just like, ooh, I'm in a new place, or what it was. But I didn't end up really shooting any footage at that place, much to my regret. I have some footage of like the actual market, but not the games, unfortunately. But anyway, so we go up to this game area. This guy just has like a couple of tables just full of games and like bins full of games. Didn't see any Saturn stuff, didn't see any Xbox stuff I was looking for. There was a bunch of stuff I was looking for, none of which I found, except for one. There was one lone PS2 game that I was looking for on this trip. I've been talking about it for a really long time. In various episodes of Playload, I've been saying I really want this game, and that game is Forbidden Siren 2. Now this is a cool horror game. It's a sequel to Siren, which we did get, and there's another one on the PS3 called Siren Blood Curse, which someone was nice enough to send me. Thank you again for that. But I couldn't find this one until I was actually there, obviously, which was really cool because he had a whole bin. It was almost like Fate. He had bins and bins and bins of PS2 stuff. And the first PS2 bin I opened, it is literally the first game on the top that's just sitting there greeting me, the only one I wanted. So my mission was complete already, and I was very excited. But at the same time, I figured, we're already here. Let's look around and see if we can see any cool stuff. Because the PS2 is a sea of just games. Just stuff you've never heard of. There's so much there's so much random stuff on that console. So once I had crossed off the only one I was looking for, why not just hunt for random things? And there was one that caught my eye. One very strange one that caught my eye, and I bought it solely for the gag. In fact, I don't even think I actually bought it. I think he gave it to me for free when I bought this one, because he couldn't believe I wanted it. Yeah, I'll just show you. See that? Home Alone. Now, this is a game that came out in 2006 based on a movie that came out in, I don't know, 1991? Why does this exist? So, alright, that just caught my eye because of how fucking strange it was. Like, why is this a thing? Upon doing research, I found out it was most definitely an exclusive game. The game is really dumb, not surprising. It's like a tower defense game, sort of. It's kind of hard to even call it that. Basically, you have like a house, and the house, and it's like your objective is play as a kid, and you have to lock all the doors, and there's 3 burglars running around inside your house. Your objective is to not only lock them in, but to find like wrenches and hammers and just every once in a while see them and throw stuff at them until they die. And the way you lose is that they can capture you. Very simplistic, very stupid game. It almost has absolutely nothing to do with Home Alone. There's characters in it that are not from Home Alone. Whatever. Yeah, I just picked it up for literally just the what the fuck factor. You know, that was the only reason I got it. And I noticed it was made by this company called Blast. You probably can't see that there, but it's like a picture of a bomb exploding and it says Blast. They apparently made a lot of exclusive games based on random things, which leads into my next pickup. Now, on my last day with Raymond, one of the last places we went was a place called the Queen's Arcade. Now, that's a mall. We think of them as malls. They, for some reason, call them arcades. At least they do in that area. I don't know, I found that very odd, and I'd never heard that term before. I always think of an arcade as, you know, a gaming arcade, which is ironic as all hell, because we're actually going in there to find games. But it's a mall. So whatever. So we go into what's called a CEX. Now, CEX is a chain of like high-end used CD and game store. Kind of like, I don't know if this is regional or not. In Chicago, where I live, we have a chain called The Exchange. Basically the same idea. There's a lot of chains that just sell used games, used CDs, toys, you know, stuff, just stuff, electronics, whatever. So when I was in there, I'm looking through the games, and something spots my eye that I just had to do a double take because of how weird it was to see. It was this. Jumanji. Again, a game on the PS2 that was released in like 2006, 2007, based on a movie from the early 90s. I don't know what this blast as well. I don't know what the hell this company was thinking. And there was more of them. Off the top of my head, they made one based on Charlotte's Web. Although that one I think came out at the same time as the movie. But there was also one based on Babe, you know, like the pig movie. I didn't pick those up, but I was just like, what the f... It was so bizarre. But yeah, I did get this one. Now this is a horrible game. It was only £1, by the way. This was very, very cheap. All you do is you play the board game. You know, you digitally roll dice, which means literally no skills involved because you press X and it just does anything. And then you end up somewhere. There's 3 other computer players playing. I guess you could play 4-player, but who gives a shit? And you land somewhere. It says it's a little puzzle thing, and then you enter like this little mini game that's always from a top-down, like bird's eye perspective. And the mini game is borderline unplayable, and it sucks. And then, yeah, it was absolutely terrible game, but funny as hell that it even exists. So after that, moving on, I spent time with my friend Ben, who you guys have seen a few videos on by now at this point. I believe it was on my first day with him, right before he was taking me back to the hotel because I don't know the area, and we stopped in, I believe it was another CEX actually. And I actually shot footage there, but it seems like my SD card was partially corrupted or something, or his was, because we couldn't find the footage. It just didn't seem to exist. I don't know why. It's unfortunate, but it wasn't like a whole tour. It was just kind of clips. But anyway, so I was in there just thumbing through games, and another one, just strange one, caught my eye. And I knew looking at it, the second I saw it, I was like, there is no way that game came out in North America. There is no way. And it was this, 7 Sins. Take a look at it. You see that? It's a girl's ass and money and this guy. I knew our country is way too prude to release stuff like this. This is basically like The Sims unrated almost. Your goal is to get laid, get paid, and become famous. You just go around. It really is like The Sims, but these little mini games where your whole goal is like, all right, move the joysticks like this to simulate rubbing her chest, you know, stuff like that. Very bizarre game. It was actually a hell of a lot of fun. I played it for quite a while. Like I said, it's very much like The Sims. Yeah, it was pretty neat, and it was cheap and exclusive. That really was the reason I got it. But, you know, I played it so much that I thought, you know, and I can't promise this here, but on my other channel, Game Society Pimps, I don't know how many of you actually watch that. It's a gaming comedy channel. We do a lot of like let's plays of games that we edit the footage a lot and make cool videos out of. Might actually play this on there as a series. Maybe just one video, I don't know, but it could actually have the potential to be a whole series. It's that interesting of a game. And yeah, if you are over in the UK and you're looking for something very strange, kind of like The Sims, if you like that at all, this is a good one to get. But yeah, there you go. Now, continuing on my quest with Ben, a lot of stuff I was looking for obviously was for the original Xbox. I've mentioned that a few times. There were quite a few good exclusives over there that I really wanted to get my hands on. And he and I had been hunting in a lot of places, and we couldn't find him. And so I kind of, kind of gave up. And at one point we went back to his house, and we had Indian food, which was really cool. I'd never had Indian food before in my life. We have it here in the U.S. I've just never gotten it myself. But it's very common over there for obvious historical reasons. So we're sitting there eating our Indian food, chatting, and he decides to go into his room, and he comes out with some games. And he says, okay, all these games you can just have. And I think the reason he'd done this is because I brought him a bunch of stuff from here, and I gave him a bunch of things I had accumulated while I was there that I simply could not keep. And I think he was, I don't know if he was feeling guilty per se, but I didn't want to pressure him or anything like that, but he did offer me this stuff. First I said no, but then they eventually convinced me to take it. So what I found were he gave me the following 2 Xbox games. This one, it's very surprising that this did not get released in North America. Alien Hominid. I know, I'm sure a lot of you are like, I've played that before. I know that game. What do you mean it didn't get released in North America? It got released on other things. You know, like there's obviously a PC version. There's like Xbox 360 arcade version. I believe there's a GameCube and PS2 version. But for some reason, the original Xbox was only released in Europe. Go figure. I don't know why. But I really wanted it because that's a really cool exclusive, regional exclusive. And he didn't seem to care about it anymore. He's like, yeah, I've done my business with that. I don't need it anymore. You can have it. So I took it. The other one, which really I was very excited about, there was one game at the top of my Xbox exclusive list that I was like, that's the one I really, really want to find. Couldn't find it anywhere, but like I said, Ben apparently had it, and he apparently didn't want it, so he gave it to me. And that was Shadow of Memories. Now this is a horror game by Konami. It just looks really neat, and I really like horror games. I just think that they're usually pretty awesome. And to find out that there was one that only came out there on a console I really like, I just wanted to do my best to absolutely track that down. And after I couldn't do it, he facilitated that. He really helped me get that by just saying like, yep, there you go. Now, this game was, I mean, until he gave it to me, was really mocking me everywhere I went, because I would always look at original Xbox stuff, and I would always get tricked by Shadow the Hedgehog. I'd be, looking along, all right, what's the alphabetical order? Shadow. Oh, no, fuck, it's Shadow the Hedgehog. Okay. But no, eventually did get it. Very happy about that, and thank you again to Ben for that. All right, now continuing on with Ben. If you guys saw, I posted a video about failing to repair a Virtual Boy, which is pretty amusing in my opinion. You should go watch that video. The reason I brought it to Ben was because he's the only Virtual Boy aficionado I know. He's the only one who has any sort of passion for it. I don't think we mentioned it in that video, but he's like basically has a complete game collection and everything. And the console didn't even come out there, so that's some serious dedication that he's managed to track down almost everything for it. Which is also why I certainly didn't mind giving him the one I had, because I didn't need it, and I figured it would be much more valuable in his hands because he's much more passionate about that particular console. But as a result of being an avid collector of the Virtual Boy, what any other avid collector will tell you, myself included, is when you are pursuing one console in particular, when you want to get all of its games, you will end up with duplicates. And it's not because you forgot and bought the same thing twice. I mean, I guess you could have done that. But it's always because buying stuff in lots is a good way to get a game. If there's 1 or 2 games in a lot you want, there's going to be like 4 or 5 that come with it you don't care about. It's typically how it goes. So as a result, he was sitting on some extra Virtual Boy games. And now I don't even own a Virtual Boy, but he kind of got me prepared in the event that I do get one, which I do want one. It's just a matter of time before that happens. So he hooked me up with the following games. Panic Bomber, which is kind of like a Bomberman game, basically, which also has the little class part on the bottom there, which is kind of nice. And Virtual League Baseball. Now, this was kind of funny because he actually he had multiple copies of this, and the one he offered me was a sealed, boxed, complete one. I was like, "Go ahead, you can take that one." And I was like, "I don't think you want me to take that one." And he was like, "Well, why not?" And I was like, "Well, because I'm going to open it. I don't value sealed stuff particularly. I don't for much. I don't like to keep stuff sealed. At that point, I feel like you're just looking at a photograph. Why even own it? That's just how I feel." So I was like, if I take that, I'm just going to open it, take out the cartridge, put that with any semblance of a collection, i.e. the 2 games, and I'll put the box in storage. I'm not going to throw it away, certainly, but I don't really value the boxes that much. And so the look on his face was just like, why? Why would you do that? And I was like, just give me the loose cart. Just give me the loose cart. You keep the sealed box one that you care about for the console you're very passionate about. I'll take the loose one. That's more than enough for me. So that's what happened there. That's why I got this copy of Virtual League Baseball. And that was very cool of him to do that. Now, at one point, towards the end of the evening, I was helping him reorganize some of his games because he had never really found the time to alphabetize his collection, which really was always pissing me off in his videos. So in an effort to help with that, looking through his stuff, and I look at his Saturn stuff because, of course, Saturn, God, that's It's the reason I went over there. No, it's not literally the reason, but it is the thing I was hunting the most while I was over there. And he had one of the games that I was looking for. And I was like, oh, you have one of them, you bastard. And he was like, well, which one is it? And I was like, it's Street Racer. And he was like, oh, sorry. And I was like, yeah, whatever. So we pull it out, and it has a sticker on it from how much he had paid for it, which was only £5. And then he just goes, you know what? It was only £5. You just take it. You're on a pilgrimage. You should get it. I'm like, I can't take your game, dude. You know, it's you already gave me stuff you shouldn't have given me. You can't give me this too. This is sitting in your collection. It's one thing for you to have gone off separately and been like, these are the things I don't want, and then hand them to me. It's very much another for me to find something in your collection and be like, I want this. You can't do that. That's not cool. So I said, no, I would not accept it. And then he kept arguing with me and being like, you just gotta fucking take it. I'm never gonna play Street Racer. I don't care. It was something I picked up somewhere. It was £5. It clearly doesn't matter to me. So we went back and forth on that for a little while. Then eventually, the agreement I had come to was like, all right, I'm going to pay you the money for the game, which he did agree to, and that was that. So I ended up with Street Racer. I paid him back for what he had paid for it. Unfortunately, I did take the sticker off, but a little bit of damage was done in the process. This was not all me. This was largely already that way. But, of course, I've gone on about this in quite a few videos now. European Sega Saturn cases suck ass, and this is the worst of the two kinds, or the three kinds, really. This is a paper exterior. There's no plastic protecting the artwork at all, and that's how it was designed. It's fucking retarded. And the cases don't hold for shit. Terrible, terrible design on these things. But regardless, thanks to Ben's generosity, I was able to get another Sega Saturn exclusive in the UK, which was awesome because I really, really wanted to get as many of those as possible. Alright, now, next up. We go back to Cardiff here, I mean in time, because I did not drive down to Cardiff again after I was in Nottingham. When I was at Next Level Games, which again, awesome store, you should definitely check that place out if you can. And I hope I'm not embarrassing anybody with this story, but I'm just going to tell it the way it was told to me and the way I recall it, because there's a combination of two things here. When I was there, the owner, Dave, was talking to me. He was, he's like, there's a guy who lives nearby who's a big fan of your videos. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. And he's like, yeah, dude, and I hope, Matt, I hope I'm not embarrassing you with this story. I apologize in advance. You guys can go see Matt. He was in my tour video of Next Level Games. He's right there at the end. That's Matt. Matt's a great guy. Anyway, hope I'm not embarrassing you, Matt, by saying your name a lot. But anyway, they were talking about Matt. And what they said was, yeah, the guy loves your videos. Every day, like, when he comes in, that's all he wants to talk about. It's the first thing that comes out of his mouth. Did you see his new video, etc., etc.? And I was like, that's really cool. Do you think there's any chance he'll come in? I'd love to meet him. And they were like, I really doubt it, because they were open on a Sunday when they're not usually open on Sundays. So they were like, he would have no reason to come in. And I was like, oh, that's too bad. Some time comes by, and I'm off in like the corner by like the Super Nintendo kiosk. Again, go look at that video for reference if you don't remember the layout. I'm over there by that kiosk, and the door opens. Now, from the kiosk standpoint, you can't see me. So the door opens, and Matt walks in. And he goes up to the front of the counter where Dave is, and he's like, yeah, I got your text. What's up? Did you get like a new game or something? And Dave just kind of looks over at the kiosk, and Matt, just like, just turns around, he looks, and he's just like, it was a little like, I'm not going to say he was like ecstatic, because that would be a massive exaggeration, but there was a look of like, oh, like surprise, happiness, if you will, on his face. And really cool dude. We talked for a really long time, really awesome guy, and as we were conversing, at one point the topic of stuff I'm looking for, of course, came up, and specifically for the Dreamcast. The only two games I was looking for the Dreamcast while I was over there was Sonic Adventure 1 and 2. Now the reason, of course, is because I have all the games, so there's not much I can ever find for that console. Yeah, I know, first world problems. But I wanted those two games because they kind of transcend my own rule about, buying one game in each region. Like, I like to buy the full set from my own region, and then I like to buy the exclusives from Europe, and then if possible go after the exclusives in Japan. Like, that's my general collecting methods. But there are some games that just go beyond those rules. Shenmue, for example, and Sonic Adventure 1 and 2, as far as I'm concerned, qualify. I had the North American versions, had the Japanese versions, didn't have the European ones. So I wanted to track those down. But yeah, I wasn't finding them anywhere at first. I did eventually find Sonic Adventure 2 at Super Tomato and got that. But as I'm telling Matt this, he says like, oh dude, I can just give you a copy of Sonic Adventure. I was like, I can't take your copy of Sonic Adventure. He's like, no, you don't understand. I got like 10 copies of Sonic Adventure. I'm like, why? He's like, what he basically explained to me was that that game is so common there, despite the fact that I didn't really see it very much. It's so common there that it's actually used as a donor case. The thing about those European cases is they break with a feather. I mean, they're not well designed. So it's almost like a sports game. You know, you pick it up just for the plastic to replace with the other more valuable games. So what he told me is like, if you don't mind the case being in crappy condition, you can have a copy of Sonic Adventure. I accepted, because you can't get a better deal than free. So at the time the store was closing, Matt was cool enough to be like, you know what, tell you what, I'll drive you back to your hotel, because my hotel was like a good 20 minutes away by a car, or maybe like an hour away via the bus. So that was very nice of him to offer. So I accepted. But before we went back there, before he dropped me off, we went over to his house, and he runs out. 90 seconds later, he comes back, and he walks out with, not that, that was something falling. He walks out with this, copy of Sonic Adventure 1. And yeah, it works great. Nothing wrong with it at all. So thank you very much to Matt for that. That was really cool of you to do that. And you can see, like, I like these cases. They look really neat. And of course, this one actually has artwork on the side, which is nice. It'll just look really good amongst my PAL games. So that's really awesome. Now, the next morning, well, not even the next morning, I was back in my hotel room and I posted some sort of status on Facebook to the effect of like, really had a good time in Cardiff, looking forward to Nottingham, you know, something generic like that. And I got a frantic message from a guy named Jason, very nice guy. And apparently he was supposed to have arranged some sort of meeting with Raymond. He wanted to meet up with me and just hang out for a bit, which would have been awesome, but apparently I didn't know about any of that. Their communication, whatever, had just broken down. So he was like, I gotta meet you. I live like the town over. I will come to you, blah, blah, blah. And I told him like, well, all right, my checkout time in the morning is at like 11, and I have to check out by that time, because the way it works is that if you do not, the thing is my hotel room was not reserved for the days after I was there, meaning if I don't check out, I simply get billed for another day, because no one else has reserved it. So I didn't want to pay for another day when I had no intention of staying there. So I was like, come hell or high water, I got to check out at 11 a.m. and I have to go, because there's nowhere for me to go at that point. I have to take that giant BMW they put me in, and I got to leave. And so I said, at this point it was now like midnight there. So I was like, I'm going to bed now, but if you want to meet up, if it's actually worth your time, you know, I'll be eating breakfast at like 9:30, something like that. I'll probably be available to see you at like 10, maybe 10:15, something like that, until I have to check out. I know that's not very long, so I don't blame you at all if you don't want to make the trip down here. I don't see why that would be worth your time. But he was very insistent. He's like, no, I have to meet you. And I was like, all right, if that's what you want. So I told him, meet me outside the hotel. And sure enough, he shows up on his bike. And then we go to a Costa, which is like a Starbucks, except British. They do have Starbucks, but this is their own thing. It was attached to my hotel, which is obviously very convenient. We go in, and he buys me a cup of coffee, which was very nice of me, did not have to do that. And we're chatting for like 20 minutes. Now, I felt incredibly bad about this, because I wanted to make a video of meeting him, but I couldn't do it, because like 10 minutes prior to when he showed up, the battery on my camera died. The battery, well, no, all right, this camera that you are watching this on, that recorded this, the battery in it just decided, you know what, now is the best time ever to take a shit and die, which is, sucked. So I was unable to film anything via this camera. So yeah, what to do? I had no choice but to not film anything. So my meeting with him went completely undocumented, really. But what we did was we just hung out. We were talking, and he told me that he runs an online game store, which is really cool. I'll put the link in the description. You can go ahead and click there. I actually worked out a little deal with him after we met. Again, we were not together for very long, so there wasn't a whole lot of time to talk about much. But afterwards, we worked out a deal whereby if you use my name as a coupon code, AdamK, which I'll display there, if you use that, you get 10% off of like any item in the store. You'll have to figure out. He said it was like limited to one-time use per like order. So if you order like 5 things, it's only going to work on one thing. You'll have to figure that out yourselves exactly. But yeah, there you go, 10% off of an item at that store if you are interested. Now the cool thing about this, or the funny thing about this, I guess I should say, is that he had told me like the story in which he wanted to bring me stuff. He's like, I gotta bring you some stuff, some gaming stuff. And I told him, like, you don't have to do that. That's totally unnecessary. Nobody owes me anything. You guys don't have to give me anything. And he was like, no. What happened was, and he tells me this story where he had gone to like his shed where he keeps gaming stuff for sale on the website again. And when he got there, he realized he had forgotten the key. And he had no choice but to like just reach his arm in and try to grab whatever he could get a hold of. And then he pulled something out and he put it in his bag and he headed over to me. And I was like, well, that's crazy. Why would you go through all that trouble? He's like, I had to do it. I had to get you something. Again, not true. Didn't have to give me anything. Well, then eventually, of course, I asked, like, all right, what did you get? And he opens up the bag, and this is what comes out. A Wii. And not just any Wii. This is actually, he told me, he's like, no, this has been soft modded. It's got like emulators and all that cool stuff on it, etc. Which was very nice of him. He did not have to do that. That was very, very cool. And I was like, but I don't think you want to give me a Wii, dude. Like, you know, a Wii? Like, do you really want to give me something like that? You know, like, do you want to give me an entire console? You know? And he was just like, I got stacks of them. Plus, it was the only thing I could get out of there. You know the hell I went through to grab it. You got to take it. So I was like, all right, I'll take it. So that was very cool of him to hook me up with this. Yeah, and go ahead and check out his website again. Again, link in the description. Get yourself something neat. Yeah, guys, I mean, that was it. That was, I know you're probably very sick of all these stories about the UK. Relax, you don't have to hear any more about it. What you're going to hear up next is Portugal. That's where I went after that, and I got some more gaming stuff. There will not be nearly as many videos about Portugal. I only went to a couple stores because I spent a lot more time with family at that point, and relaxing and so on. So, yeah. But look forward to any and all videos on Portugal and gaming hunting there. But thank you guys for watching this series. I hope you guys enjoyed it, at least the UK end of it. And as always, I'll see you guys later.